p.m. on the US Eastern Coast. So, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And, thank you so much for joining. This is the APPNA MERIT Healthcare Research and Innovation Landscape in Pakistan webinar series. And as those of you who join us routinely, but for those who don't, APPNA is the Association of Pakistani Physicians in North America, and this is the subcommittee which is Medical Education, Research, International Training, and Transfer of Technology, or MERIT is the acronym for that. And we do webinars every 2 weeks. Due to Ramadan timings, we have moved it up a little bit, but once we are out of the Ramadan, we'll go back to our regular timings. So my name is Sarfaraz Hasni. I'm a clinical researcher at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, and I'm a rheumatologist and lupus expert in the field. And our moderators are Dr. Sayed Uzair and Dr. Umar Hayat, and who will be providing commentary at the end of the webinar. So today we are very honored and delighted to welcome Professor Dr. Noor Butt, who is a professor and founding chairman of Preston Institute of Nanoscience and Technology at the Preston University Kohat Islamabad campus in Islamabad, Pakistan. He did his master's in physics from Government College Punjab University in Lahore, and then he worked as a lecturer there. And after that, he did his PhD in nuclear and solid state physics and Doctor of Science from the University of Birmingham, UK, under the supervision of Professor P.B. Moon, who is the nuclear scientist associated with the US Manhattan Project. He's the initiator of nanotechnology in Pakistan and worked as the chairman of the National Commission on Nanoscience and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology, and a top-level national nanotechnology organization of government of Pakistan. And he has, as a result, several labs in Pakistan are now engaged in nanotechnology research in Pakistan because of that. He has delivered close to 150 lectures on nanotechnology, both nationally, regionally, and internationally. He is, like I said, at the Preston Institute right now, and he's the founding chairman of the Institute of Nanoscience and Technology there. He has high quality research papers published uh, uh, in international journals with very high impact factors. And he also got several awards both nationally and internationally. And in addition to Pakistan's Academy of Science Gold Medal, and he is also receiving recipient of Civil Award of Sitara Imtiaz by the President of Pakistan several years ago. He is also a member of editorial board of several national and international journals and technical committee of several national and international organizations. He has a very long bio, and I cannot do justice in reading all of that. It will just maybe take up the whole time if I go through this. So it's a very brief introduction for a very long and illustrious career, which is expanding over several decades. So with that brief introduction, again, very welcome and thank you to Dr. Butt for taking time out of his busy schedule. And with now, I will ask him to please take it away. Thank you so much again, Dr. Sal.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarfraz, for your elaborate introduction. One thing I want to point out is my interest in medicine as a physicist. Why? The first thing is I taught, as he said, 2 years, a medical group at the intermediate level in Lahore, way back in 1959 to 61. So 20 of the graduates of that time were admitted to the K at the time, and they must be now in mid-70s. Anyway, the second interest was my own son is in Pennsylvania as a specialist in gastro and hepatologist in the last 20 years or so. So these are the two reasons. But I think my first interest is because of my students, which I loved. Even now, they are in some of the contacts. One is a very senior person, Dr. Nafis Nagi, is in Las Vegas, and similar of his class fellows. Some of them are in contact. So with this small introduction, right, why a physicist is interested in the medicine. And lately, as was mentioned by Dr. Sarfraz, was my introduction of nanotechnology in Pakistan. And currently, for the last 2 years, a new area of nanomedicine, which is getting an explosion in its field of healthcare. So, but since most of the audience are the doctors here, and I thought it's good to give the basics of the nanotechnology, why nanotechnology has entered into the medicine field and other fields, lots of them. So for this introduction, I'll start very quickly. I have two parts of the my presentation. One, I think for 1 or 2 minutes, I should not forget my alma maters, because that's why a person is there later on, because of those institutions. And then I put a few minutes on the nanotechnology and then go to the medicine. Nanomedicine with the current research, as early as yesterday, there was a talk, I'm a member of the certain abstractic uh, organization in UK, which send me every day applications of nanotechnology, including medicine, of course. So I pick up the medicine. For the last 2 years, I've been picking up applications of nanotechnology in the medicine field. There are 19 different areas of medicine which I have been collecting, but I want to compile a book for the future doctors. So I'll just go on to this. This has been already told about. And this is my first institution in Salkot, where I was up to the graduation, up to the age of 19. So my studies of school and college level have been there. The very famous institution, which was established in 1889. And then, of course, another very old institution in Government College Lahore, where I moved from Sialkot to Lahore for 2 years, MSc in 1957 to 55 to 57. And I must mention my lovable mentor, Professor Rafiam Chaudhry, who is the founder of nuclear physics and nuclear science in Pakistan. He was a student of Rutherford and did his PhD in 1932, and was a professor at Aligarh at the time of partition. He moved in 1948 to Pakistan at the Government College Lahore and set up one of the very top laboratories of the time in nuclear science. And then, of course, my doctorate in Birmingham under the Commonwealth Scholarship. And here again, there was a student of Rutherford, Professor P.B. Moon, who did his PhD in 1931 from Rutherford. So I had two students of Rutherford directly with me. That's my introduction in the nuclear science. Professor Moon has been the man of the Manhattan Project of the US in his own times. He expired, I think, in 1995. So with this introduction, this is my last professional career, where I spent about 35 years and I retired in 96 and did my nuclear research and further development at this institute, and was first time emeritus of the Pakistan Atomic Commission at the same place. And in 2010, as I said, I moved to the Nanotechnology Institute, and that I'm there. So this is my first batch of nanotechnology institution at PINSAT, I call it, Pakistan Preston Institute of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. And this is a batch which came out in 2014. Now, what is nanotechnology? I'll get on to my part one of the technical session today. I think the germs are the basis of the nanotechnology goes back to Professor Feynman, a Nobel laureate in physics. He was giving a lecture in 1959 at Caltech, the famous institute. And there he made some predictions that when the material sizes goes to the atomic level, the properties of the materials change. And atomic level is a nano level. That means atom is still smaller than 1 nanometer. 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. So about 10 atoms are contained in 1 nanometer. So that means when he was talking about the atomic behavior, he said, okay, I would like to describe a field in which little has been done, but in which enormous amount can be done in principle. And these are the future visionaries who predict the new areas. And then he said, what I want to talk about is the problem of manipulating. It's a very important word. And the controlling of things on a small scale. And small scale was the atomic scale. And as he mentioned, 1 nanometer contains about 10 atoms. So, but the word nanotechnology was not used by him in his paper. The word used as nanotechnology was by a Japanese, Taniguchi. I want to make this point clear. Normally, Feynman is considered to be the originator of nanotechnology in a sense that he talked about the hidden nanotechnology aspects of and he talked about atoms and so on in his paper and of Caltech paper. If you go, there's a plenty of room at the bottom. If you search out, you'll find a very elaborate full paper on atomic behavior and so on, which is sort of a nanotechnology. But the actual word was used by a Japanese in his paper in 1974. So this is the history. Now, there was a lot of new definitions of this new technology, nanotechnology, some 20 years back. So I was searching out what type of simple definition could be. And then I coined these words in the form of a nanotechnology, the study, manipulation, control, and use of materials, another important matter, and their structures at nanoscale or nanosizes. And 1 nanometer to 100 nanometers, all sizes of materials, whether they are biological molecules or materials, that if we are dealing with them, that is the nanotechnology. And in terms of the mathematical thing, nanotechnology, nanometer is 10 to the power minus 9, we write it, or 1 billion of a meter. And further, just to think how small is nanometer, our human hair, if we measure in terms of nanometers scale, it's about 80,000 nanometers and a sheet of paper. So we are dealing with very small things. And we come to the biological materials, the DNA is about 1 to 2 nanometers. We talk of proteins, it's about tens of nanometers. And if we talk of viruses, there are hundreds of nanometers. And the cells, which are micrometer. And 1 micrometer is about 1,000 nanometers. So that's the sort of scale of materials you are dealing with the biological systems relevant to this forum. Now, why is it is so important? There are 3 reasons. One is the scientific reason. There is the type of science which now deals with, rather than the classical science in terms of Newton's laws of motions or Newton's theories, we work with the quantum science. And quantum is in terms of steps and not a continuous thing, whatever we are dealing with. And then nano is a multidisciplinary subject. It contains all subjects, physics, chemistry, biology, material science, engineering, and so on. The other very important aspect is the economic contribution of the applications in all types of industries and a lot of contribution to the economy of the countries because of the industrial products, including the healthcare products. And this central point of why, from physics point of view, the nano size is important in terms of changing the properties of materials, whether they are electrical, mechanical, or magnetic properties, whatever they are. When the materials becomes of the size of the atoms, their strength, their magnetic properties, they all change. And what is the reason? Reason is that the surface to volume ratio, S over V, is inversely proportional to the radius of the material size. So smaller the particle, the larger this surface to volume ratio. And wherever this property is involved in the science, that property enhances. For example, dissolution of materials, sugar, if it is thicker, will take more time to absorb, but if it's ground, the same material, it will take much lesser time to dissolve it. So dissolution power increases with this. And similar, all high level sort of scientific matters change the properties when we are working with the atomic scale. So this is, I think, these are 2 importance. For example, I mentioned that the properties, optical properties of materials, when they go to the atomic level, change. You have a gold at the bulk level, a few grams or a sort of few thoras, you have yellow color. But if you grind it and get to the nano size particles or atomic size gold in solutions, you will get purple gold and you will get the pink gold. So all this is gold solutions. So the optical properties also change. So that's the central point, that the smaller the sizes and atomic levels, they change the properties. And therefore, because of this nanotechnology has a great impact on the society all over the world. And people are estimating some $1 trillion marketing of the products of nano in industries. Already a couple of thousand projects are already on the market. And some of the cancer drugs have also been approved by the FDA, as we will see later. So this is rightly called nanotechnology as an industrial revolution of this century. And it's going to affect our lives for the next decades, a few decades. Even the Wall Street, as early as 2013, recorded this nanotechnology because of industrial applications as an industrial revolution. So because of that, a lot of few heads of the states took interest in the development of nanoscience and nanotechnology. And the first one was, of course, America, and Clinton in the year 2000 allocated some special grant of $500 million to develop nanotechnology in the United States. So that's how their new program of nanotechnology initiative, NNI, is very well known. And every year about $1 billion or more than $1 billion are allocated to different applications of nanotechnology in industry, in defense, in healthcare, and so on, as you would see later. Other countries also took, interest later. Iran in the region is very well up. It's fourth in the country, in the world, in terms of populations, developed over the last 10 to 15 years very quickly because of the national emphasis on it. Now, these are, some of the countries I listed their contributions. And America, as you know, NNI has contributed up to now something like $38 billion. This is the current figure I saw yesterday. And over every year, you see there is more than $1 billion distributed to the development of nanotechnology in the United States. And what is the sort of distribution? They lay emphasis on contribution about 35% fundamental research in nanotechnology. That's very important to understand. Unless there is a strong fundamental research in any field, the industry doesn't develop. And therefore, most of the investment of the money in the United States goes to the fundamental research, and then other applications or devices and systems, and then, of course, the environment and healthcare with this percentage. And lo and behold, the contribution of all 38 billions so far from 2000 by United States has been compensated by economy contribution due to industrial products of 42 billion. Already they have. So there are something like 3,700 companies. And this is a figure from the Google I found out in the economic census of the United States. So 42 billions have been contributed in place of 20 billion or 38 billions, of course, now settled. This is some years old. So this is how the economy of a country is affected by the application of nanotechnology in the industry. And the rising contribution, the world investment is going on, and something like in 20s would be trillions of dollars involved. Now, what are the applications of nanotechnology? Very quickly, I'm going through this aspect before coming to the nanomedicine applications. You see all types of industries: cosmetics, biotechnology, environment, pharmaceuticals. Nanopharmaceuticals is a very important area. Health and medicines, oil and gas. They have increased about 10 to 13% increase in the production of oil. Oil companies mentioned using the nanoparticles in their studies, in their applications. Food science, better production by nanofertilizers, the agriculture production. Sports goods, lighter and stronger hockeys, textiles, wrinkle-free, and bulletproof material, very thin materials, defense, lot of defense, of course, in agriculture. So you see the extent of these applications. That is why there's a strong economy involved in the use of nanotechnology, and the advanced countries are doing it very much. And I just mentioned about the different type of um, influence it has through the industries, the medical, anti-cancer drugs, biosensors, implants in the surgery, dental paste, targeted drug delivery, very popular subject of today, pharmaceuticals, nanopharmaceuticals, detergents in hospitals, and diagnostics and therapeutics. So all areas you will see there are about 20 areas which I have listed briefly later on. And other areas which are earning a lot of economy and affecting our society is the energies, long life batteries, automobiles, lubricants, better lubricants, coatings, fog-free windows of the cars, and so on, dust-free mirrors. They are already used in the Japanese cars, and industrial other areas of hard materials and so on. The evolution of these things, computers, smaller and smaller computers with larger and larger memories. In defense, the materials are sensor and intelligent clothing and so on. Cosmetics, anti-aging creams, I'll mention one. And agriculture, food safety, food preservation, detection of the spoilage of food in time. Sensors are there, filters. In textiles, as I mentioned, bulletproof shorts, sunglasses. So you see aerospace industry, is a very much saving the fuel with lighter and similar stronger materials as heavy ones in the past, oil and gas exploration. So this was the list of, but then I'll mention some of the exotic applications just for the interest of it, if it is of interest. For example, I mentioned about this bulletproof shirt. This bullet is fired here. I'll just, let me see if it works here. So fashionable seats are also coming. So that was the sort of that is a sort of application, but there are many applications I just mentioned. I won't, because of the time, I won't play the videos, but you can see in my talk play on later on. So this was a very interesting thing in the defense, invisibility of the man. This was predicted by H.G. Wells, a writer in 1897, and is true today. What happens is that this is a Japanese state. He's opening the a plastic sheet, and then just he vanishes, and then he unfolds again. And so this video is interesting. I won't play it because of time. I put some videos just for the interest of general application of nanotechnology. And for example, here is a car which has one color. You can move, you can see the video full later on. But if I have time, maybe I play later on. And then remotely, there are different layers of colors and different wavelengths being sent by this remote signal. And the colors appear of the same car in whenever you want different color. So this is just for the sake of fun, sort of games which children can play about. This anti-aging cream, which is, I think, maybe quickly is relevant to the
Hi, this is Mimi from the Sonia Dakar Skin Clinic in Beverly Hills, and this antioxidant, which is great for anti-aging and repairing the skin, get a super boost in hydration, wrinkle repair, and anti-aging benefits. It's never going to clog your pores, regardless.
So that's the sort of uh, So this is a sort of applications you saw in health physics, and here is the drug delivery directly to the cell system. You take the medicine here, and it's moving around and goes to the place wherever you want. So this is a demonstration, but this is actually now a very hot area of nanoparticles for drug delivery. This is another interesting for your system, an interesting seminar, sort of. I think I'll just pass on because it doesn't work. I think it would work on this. So it's a sort of nanobots which are tracing the virus, and then they attack it, and the virus is destroyed. This is shown in this video, actually. So now in Pakistan, just before going to the nanomedicine, I'll talk about the nanotechnology in Pakistan. As has been mentioned in the introduction, a national commission was formed uh, on nanoscience, but the initiation was I gave some lectures in 1994 on the biomaterials use of nanotechnology. And then an important international conference was held in Islamabad by the Islamic Academy of Sciences, whose headquarters are in Jordan. It was a big conference, and there I gave an overview of the nanotechnology. And that's how Pakistan took interest in the nanotechnology. And a national commission was formed which worked for 5 years from 2003 to 2008. And we invested in 7 projects in the country to different universities, something like $15 million, and not much, but from Pakistan point of view. And that's how in different universities nanotechnology started. But then by the force of the international nanotechnology popularity and need, the new PhDs which went abroad for PhDs, new scientists, they came back with the nanotechnology application because this is a front area for research of PhDs. And now almost in all universities in the country, nanotechnology, whether in chemistry, physics, or engineering, it's being done. And this is now the investment. These are the different institutions which PIAS is one of our Pakistan Institute of Engineering and Applied Sciences, very up-to-date and high-merit institution. Qaid Azmi University, Comsat Institute of Technology, GIK. This is a biological institute in Islamabad, Nibje. And PINSAT, of course, the major nuclear center in Islamabad, and PCSR, the application. And there we spent about $15 million, about 945 million rupees. And at different times, but unfortunately, it is not developed into the industries. At different times, the Ministry of Science has been taking interest in the development, what is going on in nanotechnology. And in 2013, they asked me to form a committee of what is happening and how many laboratories have been working in that. And there were 22 institutions working at the time in nanoscience and technology, universities and research institutes. And there was about 1,000 publications and about 150 PhD scientists involved. And this was just information at the time. But the serious weakness, as I mentioned, is the program in Pakistan of the industrial applications and revenue earning for the country. I was given a grant from a Canadian research organization to work for the application of nanotechnology in industry for 2 years, and I addressed to the chambers of commerce of textiles and Salport sports goods, but nothing has come up afterwards, and we're still struggling. I'm putting up some interest in the young people that they should work on the nanotechnology. And in textiles recently, they have started a group of about 3-4 years back, a group on the research in textiles, wrinkle-free, and these bulletries, and for defense certain materials. So that's the part of, briefly, I wanted to talk about the nanotechnology. If in the discussion there is something more involved, I will be able to more elaborate the things. Now, in terms of nanomedicine, is the application of nanotechnology in healthcare. It has the potential impact on the early and reliable diagnosis. This is very important. Early and reliable diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment of diseases. And this was in a medical nanotechnology by Rosick. So nanomedicine has been also defined in the European science because it's a new area coming up in the few years hence. And the European Science Foundation gave it as a nanomedicine uses nano-sized tools for the diagnosis, prevention, treatment diseases, and to gain increased understanding of the complex understanding pathophysiology of the diseases. So similar things as initially. Since a new things are coming up in nanomedicine. And the term first appeared early this century, but at the time in 2005, there are only 30 papers published in the field of nano medicine. But then in 10 years' time, it increased so quickly, there were about 1,000 nanomedicine articles in 2015. And this is the references are given. You can see it later on details in these two. Introduction to nanomedicine and molecules is another area of publications. So we can, yeah, this is something area in the applications of FDA approved nanomedicine for the drug delivery system for cancers. And examples of earliest nanomedicines to gain approval for clinical use are given here. Rubicin was approved in 1995. So these are some of the drugs up to 2000. There are more. If you see the literature, you will find some more approved by the nanomedicine, approved by the FDA. And this is the market in biotechnology, in the healthcare systems, pharmaceuticals and biotechnology going up into, you can see up to billions of dollars. Now, this is just the mention, and I'll later describe a few lines of each of these applications regarding the medicine. MRI, the better resolution of using these contrast agents of the nano size, you get much more better MRI, and then infection diseases. Just yesterday got a paper which I mentioned later on about the diseases. Quick and better sensor detection of the infection disease. Even the COVID was, of course, during the COVID, nano sensors were being used to detect it quickly. And then, of course, cancer is a now very wide area. A lot of, I have, I think, over 100 different applications over the time which are collected in the treatment of cancer and the development of research. It's a very complicated area, and therefore it's taking long time. And skin diseases, of course, as you have seen one of the demonstration. Neurology is another area. Cardiovascularly, I mentioned we published one paper recently, very well received internationally. In diabetes, nanomensors for glues, sensors for glucose detection and stem cell technique, etc. Some patches are available these days. Ophthalmology, artificial lenses, contact lenses, and artificial retinas. Rheumatoid arthritis is another sustained area for prolonged therapeutics strategies. Snake bite is another area. Here in Pakistan, there are several snake bites, and this is a very good toxin, venom. Drug delivery is another very popular area of today, and liver diseases. So I'll just give some references. You see, these things I mentioned, they have full articles in the references I mentioned in italics. So if you want to see full details of the paper from biological and medical point of view, you can see the full papers. For example, in the COVID days, there was test for the COVID in 5 to 15 minutes with the cost less than $50 at the time, but maybe much lesser now. And these breath analyzers, non-invasive, could sense in 2 to 3 minutes if there is a COVID or not. So about 76% accuracy. So the full paper is somewhere here. If you put in the Google or in search your PubMed, you will find the full paper. And then in neurology, of course, graphene is a very important material, carbon material. The flakes, they control the neuron activity. And the full paper is here in this topic. If you put this topic, you'll get the journal, what it is. So rapid imaging of entire brains at nanoscale resolution is also an area you can see full paper. MRI, as mentioned earlier, brain tumors, etc., biometric nanoprobes to image the brain tumor is fully described in this article. Cancer treatment, this is a 2019 paper, an anti-tumor efficacy with nanoparticles with improved efficiency is in this paper towards the nano machines for cancer treatment. And skin diseases, the full details for wound care, for the open wounds, there's effective medications in this paper. And the diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is available in this paper, full paper. Ophthalmology I mentioned, and there is something, corneal tissue engineering, achieving time-dependent tissue repair. So these are some of the, since I'm not a medical professional, so I can't go into the details, but having interest as a interaction of the different subjects, this is an important thing which I wanted to mention. And I'm searching this literature. I've got the full articles. Anybody who wants it, I'll give my email at the end, and they can approach me and get the articles if they're interested, or I can tell the source of where these are available. Rheumatoid arthritis, neutrophil membrane coated nanoparticle inhibit these synovial inflammation and alleviate joint damage in inflammatory arthritis. And this is in this full article. Drug delivery is very popular, as I mentioned, these days. Some of it's come in several papers out there on drug delivery, but one of a recent one I saw was in this. And of course, liver diseases with the 90% efficiency of this nanoparticles lipid delivery mechanism to CRA, SPR, PR genes in full paper here. And dentistry is a separate subject. I have got a few publications in that. Prostate cancer, new nanomedicine can diagnose and treat prostate cancer in a more efficient and less aggressive way than chemotherapy. Selective destruction of cancerous cells in the prostate gland and the local lymph nodes. Nanoparticles contain the molecule of a therapeutic agent. In this case, those taxi about 100% organic and biodegradable. So this is important. And gene nanoflakes used in this full paper I described. Cardiovascular diseases I'll mention at the end of our paper. But the world's first 3D vascularized engineered heart using a patient's own cells, that's patient's own cells and biological materials. And this is given in this paper. Snake bite, I mentioned there are venom toxins which are available in the full paper is described here. Gynecology is another area, very important one, and where they alleviate pain and the fertility problems associated with the endometriosis. Novel fluorescence imaging systems are available. And of course, to remove the tumors in general, as small as 0.3 millimeters is given in this detailed paper. Alzheimer is a very important old age disease, and highly sensitive dopamine detector pulled nanoparticles to save neurons exposed to overexcitement from cell death. They are given in this paper. Virus removal, the nanospikes that skewer viruses on contact, silicon nanospikes take about 96% of virus. You put the surface of silicon layer in hospitals, materials, wherever the touching is involved, and 96% virus is removed, and you can touch these things without fear. And this is just a 26 March paper, which is published in a very important journal, ACS of the United States, and then it's a high impact factor journal. And full article is available with me in this. And acne is another area of youngsters, and groundbreaking treatments in 2023 is giving in this full paper here. So, these are some of the areas which are covered in nanotechnology via medicine. And now I mentioned just one paper. Our institute is basically, as I mentioned, is an undergraduate BS nanoscience and nanotechnology. It's the only degree in Pakistan with the 4 major subjects at this very important level of BS. Because BS is a route to higher research, BS is a route to employments, and this 4 subjects introduction has proved very well. Recently, out of my 65 graduates from PINSAT, Preston University, they have earned 63 fully funded MS leading to PhD scholarships in 14 countries, which is, I think, a very high percentage. No, even you understand, to get some funding from outside your own institution for research, particularly for MS, is a very difficult task. But here is something over 90% of my students. This is because of the emphasis we taught on practicals and teaching of 4 subjects. So the base of BS with 4 subjects is very attractive. And just as a matter of our own interest, particularly my own interest in research, even this institute, Preston University, is an academic institute for BS degree at the moment. MS, we have developed laboratories, but not started as yet. I won at Pakistan Academy of Sciences a grant for doing research in the applications of nanoparticles in cardiology. So we collaborated with the Shifa Hospital, Professor Saeedullah Shah, to get the samples of the patients who came with the acute problem of cardiac nature, and we collected the blood samples, and then with the centrifuges at our laboratory and at a laboratory of Dr. Abida for cell line, using cell lines, collaborating with making nanoparticles ourselves in our laboratory and using them with the centralized or centrifuged macrophages and cytokines parts of the blood. We used the nanoparticles, and we saw that the results of this research was that about 50% of the inflammation was reduced in those blood samples. And that's a great appreciation was by the editor of the chief editor of the journal of where it was published. And so far in 2 years' time, about 48 editors of conferences and journals have read our paper and mentioned our paper in their email to me that if you can contribute more in this line, we will be honored to have it. So that is just one paper in the cardiology published in May 2022 in this full paper. If somebody is interested, I can put on this full paper. And the title of the paper is Nanoparticles as a Novel Tool to Inhibit Inflammatory Cytokines in Human Lymphocytes and Macrophages of Coronary Artery Disease. If you need some more discussion on details of it, Dr. Abdul may be on the panel now. I asked her to be on the panel. And there's a global appreciation of this article from 48 editors of the, as I repeat, in 15 countries, in fact. And they have invited us to publish this paper. So lastly, in a few slides, I'll just mention the literature. These are some of the papers which are mentioned, but these are the journals, 12 journals which are on nanomedicine. If you like to read more details and you can discuss these journals. And lastly, in 2, 3 slides, I just want to mention the latest of technology, which is 1,000 times more sensitive, and it's called pico technology. Nanotechnology is 10 to the power -9, and this is 1,000 times more sensitive. And when we go down to the structure of atom itself, that means electrons, and neutrons, and protons in the nucleus. If you then the use of those neutrons and protons in the terms of healthcare and so on will be the pico technology. But this is just an interesting slide. Every 50 years, a new technologies come up. From 1950 was a vacuum tube technology, then the semiconductor technology up to 2000, and then is the era of nanotechnology, which is another, starting with 2000, another 50 years, and then pico technology is expected. Already in pico technology, people have written the books. And Professor Cluster Sattler from Hawaii has written a book of 750 pages on pico science and suggesting something, experiments of this. So medical pico technology will come up in times to come, and it's new technological era, and new methods will be involved in all these biological medicine and emerging computing systems involved in this artificial intelligence also in these days, which is a combination, which is the helping the medical professionals in data analyzing. But nanotechnology is the hardcore, making the instrumentation, and pico technology, making the instrumentation to use this. So nanotechnology and more recently pico technology is beginning to revolutionize the medicine, including improving prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of numerous diseases. And tissue systems, this is the area where it will be involved more. So with the end of some expectation of pico technology coming into medical, you can search out the young people for the HIV and other heart attack and new inventions expecting from pico technology. And we expect this medical care will be much improved with the development of these new technologies coming up. And future suggestions, I think this has been, I've been some years saying to Professor Aslam, who started this medical college at Shifa some years ago. He's interested in nanotechnology. Also, he gave some lectures which during the seminar which we arranged internationally at this institute. So I've been suggesting that as a course of MBBS, the nanomedicine should be developed, because unless there is a teaching course, the students are not so serious. Later on, clinical aspect is more popular. But if they have a base of as a teaching course, I think this will be better for the future doctors. And of course, once they do it, research in nanomedicine is an area for futures. So I'm very grateful to the Chancellor of my university, Dr. Abdul Basir, who is supporting this Nano Institute. And of course, grateful to the management of APPNA to invite me for this important event. Thank you very much. If there are certain questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a amazing, remarkable overview. I know there's a lot to be said, but you've covered it in a very short time period. And thank you for enlightening all of us. And we have Dr. Abda Raza, who has worked with you on some projects, I believe. And she's in the panelist. So, Dr. Raza, can you take over from the comments from panelists, and then we can go to question and answers after that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sarfraz, and thank you very much, Professor Noor. What a wonderful presentation, what a wonderful topic, and to know about the picotet technology and the use. It's like a science fiction story, and we are so lucky we have Dr. Professor Abda Raza with us among the panelists who work with Professor Noor. So I will request Professor Dr. Abda Raza to share her experience to the collaborative work with Professor Noor Bhatt in the medical sciences, in the diagnostics, in the treatment, and some challenges that are being faced in Pakistan and some of the opportunities. Over to you, Professor Dr. Abdul Razak.
Assalamu alaikum. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. So I'm very much thankful that I'm with you all as a panelist. And Dr. Bhatt is, of course, a very, a living legend, and who has the vast experience of just giving the lectures all over the Pakistan, just as an initiative of the nanotechnology in Pakistan. So I'm also one of the victims, and I started the nanotechnology with Dr. Bhatt in 2007. So it's a long story now, and a very good presentation today, of course, with Dr. Bhatt is always very much, we feel like easy that you can have a very good knowledge in just one, in less than 1 hour, you can have an overview of all the what's happening all around you. And so if we just talk about like he just started with a scale of nanomaterial and how it can play a role in just change in characteristics or properties of the particles, and then you can play these with these particles as Dr. Bhatt has mentioned in multiple areas, whether you can work within agriculture, in medical side, in cosmetics, in in many areas like textile or it's talk about when when you have a particle of a nano size, you can just have the properties that are very much different from the when the size is large. So you can play with the with your size, you can play. And I have worked with Dr. Bhatt with the like developing in some nanoparticles of like the as he has mentioned in the coronary artery disease patients, and we just collected some blood samples and isolated the macrophages and then lymphocytes also, and also culture them, and then the exposure of the nanoparticles. So some sort of like the lab work is there, and we got very fascinating results. And with the drug delivery, this nanotechnology has lots of applications. And one other area that we are just working on, that is the nanotheranostics. That is, you can just use some particles that have the fluorescent properties, or whether you also can use the drug like doxorubicin, which is the self-fluorescent drug. So you can use such particles or such drugs as you can track them, and so use them as a diagnostic tool, or you can just also use them as a therapeutic tool. So that is the combination of this diagnostics and therapy, you can say, is the nano theranostics. So with today's lecture, we have learned a lot from Dr. Bhatt is regarding the nanotechnology, its application, and then going towards the nanomedicines, and specific to all our audience. And then, of course, because I have just gone through the audience, there are the graduates and from some working in some nano medicine areas also, and some in the academia side. So they can help with the help of the scientist, or you can collaborate with some scientist, and the clinician can do lot more things, because the clinical side is a totally different, that can just highlight the problems, and then scientists can help them to resolve this issue. So a real collaboration is needed from both sides. And then we just ended up with some details in developing in like the pico technology, and also, you know, one of the interest is, like I just mentioned, is like the development of contrast agents. These are very much expensive in Pakistan, especially. Well, in Pakistan, you know, we are not doing anything as far as the applied work is concerned, and we are not producing so much in the pharmaceutical industry, and we are just having some raw materials from outside, and then just, you know, developing the drugs or like this. So what really we want to do is that we should just collaborate, and then just develop something is on ground, and then the science is from you know, from shelf to bedside. So this is the really we need. And
Thank you, Dr. Abda. Thank you
yeah.
so much for your comments. I think we have few more minutes and we would like to get to some of the questions.
Okay, thank
But I appreciate your comments, and I think I'll hand it over to Dr. Uzair. Thank you.
thank you.
you- Thank you very much. So a couple of quick questions, Dr. Noor. The
Yeah.
first one is what could be the possible hazards of the use of nanotechnology in disease in humans?
Okay. It's a good question. The important part is the toxicity. Whenever certain drug is approved or experiment is done, the measurement of toxicity, Dr. Abda can explain much better. We estimate that the drug toxicity is usable as approved by the FDA. And there are very elaborate methods of measuring the toxicity. This is not my area, but in our publication, when we use the nanoparticles, then we use their strength in such a way that it is within the limits of medicine used as low toxicity. And this is all in the drugs which are approved in the application of nano.
Perfect. So the next question is nanotechnology in healthcare in the perspective of Pakistan currently, how and where it is being used. So any example where it's being used in
Yeah,
any
this,
field.
thank you very much. I just mentioned, you know, this is my dream, in fact, and for a few years, I'm trying to get it involved, the medical people. The first lady was Dr. Abida, some 10 years, 15 years back. I asked her to get into, and she went to London for cancer studies and experience as a postdoc. But anyway, this is my attempt, and I think this is the reason of this lecture. You people who are involved as principals or as senior people in medicine, I think if there's no research as to my knowledge in medicine. I'm not a medical practitioner, but you know better. If some people have published, the only paper I mentioned is our own paper in the cardiology using
Got it.
nanoparticles. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, no problem. So the next question is from Osama Saif. Which type of metallic nanoparticle are more effective, like
Okay,
gold, silver, zinc in the medical field?
very good. Yeah, the particles, of course, gold nanoparticles are very common. And zinc oxide, these are the two particles, and magnesium oxide. These three particles we use for our cardiac research. But nano biochemistry is a very good chemist in LUMS, Lahore, Dr. Irshad Hussain. He is a specialist in making gold nanoparticles of any size, even up to 1 nanometer. So, in fact, some of the gold particles we got from him for use in our cardiac research. And there's a whole range of nanoparticles, copper nanoparticles. There is a special branch we can make nanoparticles of any size of different materials in the chemistry labs, nanochemistry.
So it's over to Dr. Umar Hayat. Please unmute yourself and please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think, Dr. Nurbert, it's valid answer. If you are using the extraneous, so to speak, the particles, whether for the diagnosis or whether for the drug delivery system, yes, the inherent toxicity is a problem, and FDA has a lot of concerns around that. But I will take a very different approach. In fact, because I'm working on one of the drugs. 3/4 of the drugs die on their way during the development because they are low soluble. we cannot convert them into a molecular form which can reach to the target. So the purpose of the nanotechnology is, okay, we know that we cannot deliver the crystal. We know because of the low solubility, we cannot convert into the molecular form to deliver to the target. Can we reduce to the nanoparticles, which would be the agglomerate of probably the 3 molecules? Now, in that case, the toxicity is not a big question because that itself is the active moiety with the therapeutic activity. So pharmaceutical in general is a $1 trillion market. I think if I will have to pick the battle, I will rather use the nanomedicines, means work on the molecules which have the therapeutic activity. As I said, 3/4 of the molecules never reach to the market because of their low solubility. If we can convert those low soluble drugs to the nanoparticles, which are the agglomerates, and that can be a breakthrough. Just talking about that, I'm working on one project. We are using the microfluidization as a technology. We are producing roughly like a 150 nanometer, and it's a suspension. It's a injectable drug, and we're using for the cancer treatment. Very new concept. We are not targeting DNA or the protein inhibition or RNA, any sort of thing. We are targeting the mitochondria. Basically, those nanoparticles go to the mitochondria, kill the mitochondria, and as we all know, mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cancer cells. So if you can cut the power, then of course the cell will die. So you're absolutely right. But I think if we really will have to work with the discovery guys, with the chemists, produce the drugs in the nanoparticles, not the nanoparticles to carry the drugs. So I think that would be the low-hanging fruit to pick. Thank you very much, Dr. Zak. Back to you.
May I give a little comment on recently, Dr. Umar, I read a paper was sent to me in which they have delayed the time of the drug, as you mentioned, easily soluble. And so there is a current, this is a 224 paper. So as you
control
are
release
right in the line, they are doing on this line. Very good.
Yeah, the control release is another, like you can deliver the drug in the nano even like larger particles, which can be the agglomerate of multiple molecules, and then slowly they get released. So that's another way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
so
Dr.
much. I
Sarfraz,
think,
please.
sorry, Dr. Zahar. I think we are like 2
Yeah.
or 3.
Please close with the formal thanks. I was just saying.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there are a lot of excitement and a lot of stimulation and discussion, which is what this webinar is all about, to stimulate scientific discussion, discovery, and research. And you kind of hit it on the nail exactly by doing that. And I see so many questions. Unfortunately, we try to complete this in time, and we are already a couple of minutes over. So we want to keep our commitment, but I think this is a discussion that we should continue and generate more research and more scientific curiosity. So again, thank you so much for Dr. Nurbhat for taking time out of your busy schedule and enlightening us and teaching us about something that not so many of us as clinicians are thinking about. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate the comments from Dr. Abdurraza, who has also contributed to the field, and of course our panelists, Sayed Uzair and Dr. Umar Hayat. And last but not least, the technical team of APPNA MERIT, headed by Waleed, who has been pivotal in making sure that everything runs smoothly, does a lot of work in the background. So with that, I thank all of the participants for joining and apologize that we could not get to all your questions, but inshallah, we will continue this as an open discussion. And again, a big thank you to Dr. Noor. But thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.